balancing a fighting game is hard, it really is. But what the heck happened with these characters? From 80% combos to constant resets and mix-ups, every NetherRealm game has a broken character, so let's talk about them after a quick word from today's sponsor. Get your awesome anime apparel at KaiokenClothing.com with 5% off any purchase by using code DOG. These guys deliver worldwide and offer an incredible selection of clothing to satisfy your otaku needs. Me personally, I love My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball Z, and all the designs are made in-house and there's tons of reviews as well. So make sure to satiate your love for anime and save money while doing it with Kaioken Clothing. Okay, so we're starting off strong right away with Cyrax. So Cyrax had a bunch of things that made him ridiculous, and don't get me wrong, it's MK9, so pretty much every character was broken in one way or another. However, Cyrax is special because he was so broken that NetherRealm kept trying to balance him and patch him and nerf him, and this earned him the famous nickname of the Leaky Boat because he kept getting patched. But honestly, no matter how much NetherRealm nerfed him or updated him, he seemed to always do good and dominate grand finals. So for starters, Cyrax had a 50-50. This was safe on block, but it's a low, and he has a follow-up. You just hold throw, and look at that, even more damage. So 15% for a low, and he also had an overhead that was also safe on block. So right off the bat, he has 50-50s. And keep in mind that mids in this game are the same as overheads. A lot of players forget that, but there were no real mids, they were just overheads. So right off the bat, Cyrax has 50-50s. So if you're trying to block, he has a lot of ways to open you up, and all of them are safe, so no risk and a lot of reward. And that's a problem because even if you had the defense of a god, Cyrax had this, a command grab. And this thing is just back 1, by the way. So the easiest command grab in the world, in my opinion. And if you do the follow-ups, he's at plus 50. So in case you're wondering what that means, he gets a free jump in, and a free jump in just means more block pressure, which means you're now dealing with 50-50s. Is it going to be a low, or is it going to be an overhead? So not only did Cyrax have 50-50s, but he also had a command grab that essentially guaranteed the pressure into the 50-50s. But things just keep getting crazier with this character because Cyrax has the bombs, and these were actually unblockable in this game. So thankfully in later iterations they would be lows, which were still really good for mix-ups, but they were not actually unblockable. You actually had to avoid this thing. You just straight up had to get away, and you did not want to jump on Cyrax because he had an anti-air. So pretty much you had to backdash if you wanted to avoid these bombs, because if you jumped, he would anti-air you and get some pretty darn good damage. And once any of these bombs caught you, it was a decent amount of damage. So look how easy that was, and we're already getting 34%. That didn't cost me any meteor either, by the way. That was just a very easy bread and butter if a single bomb touches you. And that's scary enough on its own, but the combo after the bomb isn't what made it scary. What made it scary was the fact that it was unblockable, and Cyrax could combo into it and then do a net. And the second that net went away, the bomb would go off and you had no way of escaping it. So what this essentially meant was Cyrax would touch you, and then launch you with this. He would send out some bombs, and then do a short combo into the net, and the second that net went away, the bomb would activate and relaunch you for a second combo, and there was no way to escape it, so as far as you're concerned, it's a full combo. And these combos did a stupid, ridiculous amount of damage. We're talking around 80%. Now the good news is this game does have a combo breaker, and the meter actually builds pretty fast in this game. Here's the problem. Cyrax's net, which is so good for extending and starting combos off of pretty much any hit, this bad boy, when you spin the bar, actually drains the opponent's meter. It just straight up gets rid of it. So let me go ahead and turn the meter back to normal so you can see that. Look at that. And it drains pretty much an entire bar. So that means if your opponent barely had combo breaker, you could hit them, do this, and now they no longer have combo breaker, and you're getting some guaranteed damage into a guaranteed reset at minimum. And once again, if Cyrax touched you, you were just dead. We're talking a guaranteed 80% in the hands of a good player. But don't just take my word for it. Here's an example of that same combo happening at a professional tournament. So let's go ahead and watch this thing and break it down step by step. Okay, so right off the bat, we see the enhanced net, which drains the opponent's bar. They no longer have combo breaker. So as mentioned earlier, that bomb setup was guaranteed. There was no way for the opponent to escape that, and they still don't have meter for a combo breaker. So yeah, they're dead. So as you can see, Cyrax is pretty busted, but there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. So if the opponent didn't want to use the bombs to relaunch you, instead they would end the combo with the net and then just command grab you. And once again, this jump was guaranteed, which led to more block pressure and guaranteed a 50-50, or at the very least guaranteed chip. And even scarier still, I want you to keep in mind that you can do that again. So block this and then just go for it. That's a tick throw setup. So if the opponent's not ready, that happens, and the only way to tech throws in MK9 is to let go of block, which is very similar actually to MK11, sure. But keep in mind in MK11 you don't have command grabs like this that just lead to guaranteed plus 50, and this means if the opponent was really scared and just terrified of getting hit by anything else, you just keep doing this. Like over and over again, you just keep doing this, and the opponent will die that way as well. So they can either die by block pressure, they can die by constant command grab pressure, or they can just die by getting opened up for a full combo that leads to a reset and overall about 80% damage. So as you can see, I'm not exaggerating when I state this character is one of the most busted in the entire NetherRealm franchise. And next up we have Batgirl, and I'll be honest with you, Batgirl might actually be worse than Cyrax. Originally, I was actually going to talk about Superman here because everyone talks about Batgirl, but honestly, after relearning all the different things that Batgirl could do, there's no one else that I could put for this part of the video. And that's actually crazy because Superman was so hated that people were actually booing anyone who picked him when the game came out. But even with all that in mind, Batgirl is still the craziest because of all the ridiculous shenanigans this girl has. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Right off the bat, we have 50/50s. So that's a low starter right there, and you could not punish that. It's completely safe on block. And if you kept blocking it, she had an overhead. Now this actually was punishable, it was -7, but only half the roster or less could actually punish it. You had to have a 6-frame move, and a lot of characters didn't. But just in case your character could punish that, she had an overhead low. And once again, this was completely safe on block, nobody could punish this. So right off the bat, no pun intended, Batgirl has 3 different ways to start combos on you, and only one of them is punishable, and even then a lot of characters can't punish even that string. But what's even crazier is what these moves led to. So when the game first came out, everybody was just doing straightforward combos, like they would do this, and then this, and they're like, oh man, look at that damage, 27%, not too bad. And keep in mind that move I just did right here is also safe on block, and that's her go-to combo extender if you're more casual, so that's safe on block and also leads to her combos. But if you were decent with your hit confirms, you could do stuff like this, and now you're getting 33% for just 1 bar. But oh no, the opponent's blocking low all the time, I'll just do the overhead. And once again, you're getting 35% this time, so a bit more damage. So with just 1 bar, she's doing about the same damage as everybody else. However, none of these things are why Batgirl was busted in this game. No, my friends, what made Batgirl busted was this right here. So if you had fast fingers, you could do her down 2, and then quickly go into her bola, and the opponent was re-stood. This could extend combos, sure, but that's not what players would actually do. They'd catch you with the bola, they do a jump in, and then 1-1-1. And this left Batgirl at plus 22. So you can't do anything, you just have to stand there and block, and then the 50/50s cometh all over again. She has the back 2 for the overhead, she has the overhead low, which is completely safe, or she has the low mid, which is also completely safe. So she would touch you for a combo, and then catch you with the bola, then go for a jump in, and start the whole thing all over again. But we're still not done. Batgirl has much more absurd shenanigans that make you guess even more. So what a lot of players would actually do is land the bola, then whiff it down 1, and go for a jumping kick. And as you can see, Batman just broke free right before that jumping attack landed, which meant he had to block it. And that's an issue because when Batman breaks free from the bola, notice he steps forward, just a little bit. And what that means is if you're playing Batgirl and you time it correctly, you can go for the most ambiguous cross-up of all time. And keep in mind, cross-ups in this game do not work like they do in every other 2D fighting game. In most fighting games, your character has to actually be behind the opponent for the cross-up to count. That is not how it worked in Injustice 1. In Injustice 1, the attack itself simply had to hit behind the opponent. So Batgirl, in other words, didn't even have to be behind you for it to be a cross-up. All that mattered is that her jumping kick landed behind you, and if it did, then that was a cross-up. So not only could Batgirl catch you with the bola and then do this to just be plus and go for whatever she wanted, whether it's an overhead or a low, but instead she could catch you with the bola, whiff a move, and then go for a ridiculous cross-up. Did it land in front or did it land behind you? It's very tough to tell. However, we're still not done because there is one more ridiculous thing to talk about. So of course, all of these 50/50s and all of these resets and all of these shenanigans, they all existed in the corner as well. However, there's one thing that Batgirl could only have access to in the corner, and it's her ridiculous damage. So just look at that, over 50% just for a single combo and one bar in the corner, and any of these 50/50s have the potential to lead to that damage. And just in case you don't play Injustice, you do not have access to a combo breaker until your second life bar, and even then you only have one per match. So in other words, Batgirl only had to touch you twice, and theoretically she already killed you in the first round. So in summary, let's add all of this ridiculousness together. So she has 50/50s that are safe on block. She has very acceptable damage from mid-screen. She has restands. She has 50/50s out of those restands. Or she can go for a cross-up out of those restands, and last but not least, in the corner, she has ridiculous damage that just destroys your health bar. So when you put all of those things together, in the hands of a good player, Batgirl is by far the most busted character in Injustice, and that's saying something. And now we're on to MKX, so let's talk about Acidic Alien. And don't get me wrong, there were plenty of characters that were all considered busted at different points during this game's lifespan. But even so, I don't think any of them ever reached the heights of Acidic Alien, and this variation was nerfed, but not that much. It only lost some of its pressure on hit, and that's about it. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So Alien, for starters, is already a fantastic character. So you see this? Low. Really far-reaching low. And then do you see this? Overhead. Very far-reaching overhead. So that's already really ridiculous. And both of these hits lead to a full combo. So that's a low overhead or an overhead overhead. And these lead to a full combo. Or you can just do low low, or you can do overhead low. So 50/50 followed by a second 50/50. That's already tough to deal with. And then on top of that, stuff like this ends in a low. And that's a good mid, by the way. Really good mid, and should definitely be a high attack based on the animation, but that's a mid, and it ends in a low, which means now it ends in an overhead. And you don't have to actually spin the bar. I'm just spinning bar because that starts off a combo, but just keep that in mind. You had a low, which already starts combos, by the way, so that's a combo extender right there. Or you could also just make it a mix-up and go for an overhead. So mix-ups for days, bunch of coin flips just like Batgirl, but that's just Alien in general. Alien always had that. But what made this variation especially brutal was all the different ways that she could cause you to take damage over time. So this combo right here, didn't even have to end it. I can just throw that, and now you're bleeding. If I amplify, I throw two. That also works. You can amplify that. Oh, look at that, you're taking so much damage over time, and just look at it tick away. And that's not a puddle, by the way. You take damage just for getting hit by that. And then if you wanted to jump, she had this, which is just up 3. And once again, taking damage over time. So you hit them with this, they jump, you catch them with this. So already taking good damage, and also in the air. She can do the exact same thing. Is there an amplify? Yes, there is, and look at that even more. The up 3 does not have an amplify, so this character could do a combo on you. And then just keep doing this. If you jump, catch it, do this. So she can zone. And she has different variations of this too, like different distances, close, medium, far, all that dirty stuff. She can amplify it, she can anti-air, ridiculous amount of footsies, and you're just taking damage the whole time. Look at the health bar, by the way, on Reptile. He's already half dead. So already that's pretty strong, but there's one more reason this character was ridiculous when she first came out. So let's go ahead and go to the corner. Because just like Batgirl, this character becomes ridiculous in the corner thanks to this move, Acid Blood. So after the nerf, it's only +1 on hit. It used to be +11, which might not seem super strong, but check this out. It restands. So you deny the opponent's wake up, and the wake ups were a very big part of your defense in this game, and you just didn't get to have access to it. So she would restand you, you'd take damage, you couldn't do wake ups, you were just stuck, and she's at +11, which by the way means you had to deal with this string, which just means more 50/50s. It could be a low, or it could be an overhead. And this overhead had much better damage in the corner. Just check this out. Oh, and look at that, you're restood, and you're taking damage. Look at that, you're taking damage. That's pretty much half health if you stay in the puddle. And once again, I'm +11, so get ready to block and guess one more time. And once again, you're bleeding. I'm at +11, so get ready to block again. And while you're blocking, you're still taking damage too. And even if you block, by the way, that puddle turns every forward throw into a command grab level in terms of damage. So look at that, 21% for a throw. So even if you can block all of these 50/50s, if you don't expect the throw and get ready to break that, I'm still getting over 20% just because that puddle is down there. And things only get crazier from here, ladies and gentlemen, because Alien can amplify this. And if you do, it is now not only doing more damage, but before the nerf it was plus 50 at least on hit, which meant you could do whatever you wanted and the opponent had to deal with it. So in other words, all those combos you saw before just became more powerful because they're taking more damage over time, and you have more possibilities because you're at plus 50 or something instead of just plus 11. And I still haven't shown you what happens if you're in the puddle when the combo starts, so just check that out. Oh my god, look at that, you're almost dead. You're almost completely dead. And if I was to throw you there, it would be like a 20% throw and you're still bleeding. And I still have 1 bar, by the way, so I could have done an amplified acid bleed if I wanted to. Now thankfully, one final nerf that Alien got in this variation is that the damage over time can't actually kill you. So Alien can get you all the way down to 1%, but they have to actually hit you physically to get the win. But even so, keep in mind that was a very short combo into a restand to get the plus frames, and then one more mix-up into a full combo and you're pretty much already dead. So not only did Alien have pretty good zoning from mid-screen and also do some decent damage and also really good damage over time, but once they had you cornered, you just melted because that acid blood restood you and you had to block because she was so darn plus, and once you hit a combo, you were just pretty much dead. And finally, before the nerf, you would just die from bleeding to death, which meant after the restand, you could do whatever you wanted, but you were still going to take damage over time and just be dead. So with all of that in mind, you can understand why Alien had to be nerfed and was easily the most busted character in MK11, if only for a short period of time. And now it's time to talk about Starfire. So this character is unlike anybody on this list so far because she's actually not a very complicated character. But that's actually what made her so strong, because the few tools she did have were really good, so much so that this girl was dominating nearly every tournament when she came out. So let's go ahead and talk about why. So what better place to start than her character power? So this trait was ridiculous. You just tap the button and look at that. Pretty much an instant full screen projectile. You can react to this thing, but online it can be quite difficult, and it's one button. I'm just tapping a single button. Now thankfully it is a high attack, so theoretically you could duck it, but keep in mind she has the option to amplify it. And if she does, it's a mid and it does some really decent damage, but that's not all. She can also hold down this thing. When she holds it down, she gets even more damage, and there's no frame data on it because you can change how long you hold it down for, but if you hold down the entire thing, you're pretty darn good on hit, and you can also amplify it after you fully do it. And that only takes away about half of the meter, not even half. So even if you never played this game, you probably already figured out that she's a zoner, and you'd be right. She also has this projectile, which is just down forward 1. And it's pretty good. And then if she amplified this move, she pretty much reset the neutral every time, because look at all the pushback on this thing. And she has a down back 1. This move she can actually angle, and it's not a true combo, but on block, it can be very good. This thing's actually plus on block, in fact. So what a lot of Starfire players would do is instead of finishing her string like this, they would just go straight into this. And now they're plus. So they can either go for something or they can back away, any number of things, because that move is plus. And then if you wanted to amplify it, this move actually started off combos. But you see, there's one more thing to mention about Starfire's character power. She can do this move to end any special attack, so something like this, which is great for ending combos already, some pretty decent damage. She can just go, oh, I'm gonna cancel that, and she'll get some damage. And then if she wants to, she can spin the bar there and get even more damage, so look at that 20%. So Starfire might not be a combo monster, but if she caught you with this, like a back 3, oh yeah, you were taking damage. 36%, there is nothing wrong with that in this game. That is actually a bit above average. And then she had her forward 3, which had much better range than a lot of other forward 3s in the game, and as you can see, she doesn't even offer up her own hurt box, so you can't actually hit the beam, in other words, and do damage to her. You have to actually hit Starfire. But if she did tag you with this, she can just go boop, boop, and then spin the trait, and look at that. Once again, 30%. So whether it's forward 3 or back 3, she was getting some decent damage, and that's a big deal in a game like Injustice, because if you spin the bar, you get an armored back 3 or forward 3. And the back 3 especially made her very scary to approach because once again, look at this damage. She's now getting 40% for just 1 bar. So if you jump in and she goes, nah, I'm just gonna armor through that, you're eating 40%. Scary stuff. And I should also mention Starfire had back 2, which is one of the best anti-airs in the entire game. I kind of hope that in the next NetherRealm game, every character gets a universal anti-air of some kind, because this back 2 is just so darn good. Basically, if the opponent jumped at you, you are guaranteed a back 3. And once again, So if you jump on Starfire and she sniffs that out, she's getting about 26%, and this anti-air is almost instant. Yeah, don't jump in on Starfire. She has armored options, or she also has a back 2. But we're still not done, because Starfire, just like Deadshot, has a bunch of invincible wake-ups despite being a zoner, and she can also make them safe as well. So if you knock down Starfire, she can do Hair Whip, or I forget what it's called. Let's find out the exact name, why not? So this move is called Burning Desire. And Burning Desire by default is actually punishable, but if she spends the bar, which she can even if you block it, she's now completely safe. So even if you do close the gap on Starfire, once you knock her down, she has access to an invincible wake up option, and to avoid this, you pretty much had to jump on her wake up. However, if the Starfire player knew you wanted to do that, she could wake up with a back 3 and then spend bar to make it armored to just completely snuff your jump in, or depending on how high your character jumps during their arc, she could even do a back 2 possibly and get a combo started that way. But Starfire also had a way to close the gap if she wanted to and keep herself safe. So check out this move. This move is full screen. And because she flies backwards at the start, it can actually avoid projectiles on their way in. So she can avoid stuff with this and then fly in. And then if she amplifies, she is completely safe on block. Well, it's a meter burn, but you get the idea. If she comes in with this and spins the bar, she is completely safe. So despite being a zoner who also has an invincible wake up, if Starfire, for whatever the reason, wants to close in on you, she can, and she's safe every single time. And one more thing that made Starfire just a very easy character for beginners is that she's pretty much safe on everything. This string, completely safe. This string, safe, which is a low by the way, so a bit of a mix up there. This string, completely safe, or she can finish it and it's still safe. This string right here, it's safe. You're getting the idea, right? And this string especially is safe, and it ends in an overhead. Now the first hit is a high, so maybe you can duck it, but the second hit comes out so fast that it wasn't uncommon for a lot of pro players to just miss the first hit intentionally and hit you with that overhead on the follow-up just to make sure they closed the gap once again. Or if they knew that you knew the overhead was coming and that you'd be blocking high, they would just do this, and now they're plus instead. Or just for one more option, they could do this. That's an unblockable throw, and it's got some pretty good distance on it too, so Starfire can just start zoning all over again. My goodness, this character was ridiculous in a very simple way, which made her even more annoying to deal with. So if you're wondering why this character started dominating tournaments when she came out, now you know why. She wasn't just good, but she was good in the easiest kind of way. And that's actually it for the video, everybody. Once again, I would cover MK11, but I've already made videos about the strongest characters and the strongest attacks as well, so make sure to check those out. And just in case you're curious which character I would have put in this video, I imagine it would have been Jackie in Variation 3. All in all, I hope this video was a very fun and educational experience for you all, learning which characters were busted in every single NetherRealm game. If it was and you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.